Charlie, you saw Pacific Rim Uprising. Steve, you saw Tomb Raider, no subtitle. And you are both going to try to convince me which is better. That's what we do, right?
No, yeah.
All right, cool.
Are you ready for Movie Versus? Welcome to Movie Versus, the podcast where we pin two terrible movies in an all-out battle for the best of the worst. Here are your hosts, Tyler Lamb, Charlie Pixley, and Steve Channing. All on Movie Versus!
So in Spaceballs, when they're trying to suck the air out of that one planet that has all the oxygen, but it's just a completely enclosed planet, like wouldn't they have like some type of greenhouse effect? Wouldn't they have already been dead from enclosing themselves?
It's probably been about 10 years since I've seen that, so
Yes.
Also,
exactly
maybe they survive
right.
off of greenhouse gases.
Maybe. Well, this is Movie Versus, the podcast in defense of bad movies. My name is Tyler Lamb. I'm here with my fellow movie not journalists. I can't think of the word. Aficionados. Also, we dive deep into connoisseurs. We got Steve Janik. How's it going, Steve?
It's going all right. So far, so good today.
That's good. You won a couple Smash games before we started, didn't you?
Just a svelte 1 or 2.
There you go.
Smash TV.
Yeah.
That video game.
Yeah. Smash TV that no one actually knows how it plays because no one's ever played it.
Everybody
What are
just
you
plays
talking
a bunch
about?
of
I know that game.
I never played
You
Smash
got a
TV.
gun that
I've
shoots
played it before.
peanuts and stuff? Yeah.
No, I never played Smash
Peanuts.
TV.
It was on
Peanuts.
and the Smash TV correspondent is Charlie Pixley.
Yeah.
What's up, Chuck?
I don't know what Steve's talking about.
I
I
just
used to
always-
play that all the time.
I know that.
I never played it. I just always saw the box art at
gotcha.
Blockbuster, and I was like, not today. I'm here for other things.
You win all sorts of prizes.
It's on the Xbox Live Arcade, and I think that it's notorious because I think it has an achievement that is like impossible to get because it's a glitch or something. Like the achievement doesn't pop or something. I don't know. I feel like I've heard about it through like knowing people that are just way too obsessed with achievements and stuff like that.
You should check it out if you get the chance, though.
I probably have it on an emulator somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a dumb
an emulator.
shooter.
Last I heard, those were illegal. So if I could just call my buddies at the Federal Bureau of
Why don't you try
Investigation.
emulating a good co-host, Steve?
I don't know.
I'm sorry.
I don't have any experiences with a good one, so I don't know how to do that.
Damn. I was going to say Steve's off the podcast because of that burn, but he came right back at us. I didn't even make a burn at him, and he got me in the vicinity of his burn.
And now we're all scarred for life.
Yeah, so I don't know. This podcast might just be over.
If we were to ever end it, that would have been a funny as hell spot to just end
we're
it.
just like, well,
The audio cuts there. Fuck!
and then it ends.
Also, we are no longer friends.
So on this episode, I am being convinced about a movie, and it's two movies in theaters that I actually have interest in seeing, which I feel like is a little different than usual. I think we've done it before, where
Sure.
it's like, hey, yeah, I actually kind of am interested in seeing this, but this is something where I think that I might end up seeing both of these after this episode, and I was like bummed last weekend.
When you couldn't go see one?
Yeah, I was like, oh, I should go see him. What? God fucking damn it. I can't see either of these movies. Whatever. I'll wait, I guess. So I guess this is the who wins first viewing.
Okay.
Or just what sounds better, So
like the usual?
yeah, I guess I'll be normal like everyone else and not original and stand out for once in my life.
Fucking normie.
So Charlie, you saw Pacific Rim Uprising, which
Yes,
we
I
found
did.
out has no colon, surprisingly. Those robots, who knows how they
rise
deposit.
upwardly.
And Steve, you saw Tomb Raider.
Fun fact, I also saw Pacific Rim Uprising.
yeah.
You didn't talk to him about it, did you?
No.
Okay, good.
Oh, no,
Actually, I spoiled all of your movie exclusively.
Thank you.
I
Well, lucky for me, it's going to be easy.
I haven't
right?
heard of either of them. So since I'll actually start, Steve, tell me about Tomb Raider, and then Yeah, let's do that first. So, Steve, tell me. Give me the old synopsis.
So Lara Croft is a young woman. I believe she's maybe young college age. She's currently not in college, but she's probably she's in the
Pathetic.
in the 18 to 20 range. Her father would always go on these business trips, and then just one business trip he never came back. Yeah.
The fall.
Yeah, so it sounds they made it sound like she was told that his plane went down or something like that. He's just missing, but there's no actual body, so she's spent a bunch of resources trying to find him and things like that.
He was the pilot of Peter Parker's parents in The Amazing Spider-Man.
Oh shit, dude, he went down hard as fuck then. And props to him for innovating that plane Wi-Fi so early.
Yeah. Anyway, so she's been kind of not signing the paperwork to kind of take control of the company because she knows that's kind of like the we've given up the searching for my father sort of situation.
Sure.
So the movie starts off with her getting into a little bit of trouble with the law, and she ends up kind of going back to her father's company, and she starts signing the paperwork. And when she does so, she gets a puzzle from the CEO or whoever's running the lawyer. Actually, the lawyer gives it to her, and it unlocks some things, and it leads her to a hidden like layer almost underneath the family, like
A tomb.
Yeah, actually.
Okay.
it's like a mausoleum, but the family tomb.
So they're Jewish.
And and so she gets into this, and she finds this almost layer of like her dad's research and things, because apparently and then she finds the if you see this I'm already dead video. But basically, he says...
Is that what it's labeled?
Yeah.
it has a little label. If you see this, I'm already dead.
And then below that, be kind, rewind.
I'm expecting it was a mixtape, and there were like fire emojis next to it. It's
fire
like
emojis didn't exist.
It's the rebuttal to Drake's. If you're reading this, it's too late.
Yeah.
if you're seeing this, I'm already dead.
Did he say, Steve? He's like, if you're watching this, I've already been dead. Now I know you wouldn't be dumb enough to waste 15 years of your life searching for me.
He doesn't do that.
So here's some teenage advice. Or how old was she? I don't remember. Sorry.
She was probably. It was 7 years ago. Like it's been 7 years since he disappeared. So she was probably like the way it sounds. She was somewhere in the early teens, like 13 or 14. So now she's like 20, 21.
That would be great if it was one of those videos where he just went into like being like, and as a teenage woman, oh man, better talk to your mom.
Her mom's already dead. Her mom was dead before he disappeared.
And that's what I'm saying. He says you better talk to your mom, but if you're watching this, she's also dead.
So he basically says that when her mom died, that he was looking for something more, like proof of the afterlife and things like that. And so he's been kind of researching a lot of ancient myths and legends, and he found one.
That was the Illuminati symbol that Charlie just did on his forehead.
Gotcha.
You get woke, dude. Oh,
dude.
fuck. Yeah, we're shut down.
And he found one legend about this Japanese princess Himiko that was basically said that she was like the queen of the undead, and just like people died in her wake and rivers ran red because of her and things like that. Mm-hmm. And so he found her tomb, and because she ended up being taken down by her generals and like imprisoned on an island off the coast of Japan, and there's just tons of tiny islands all around Japan. So
can I stop you real quick?
Yeah.
Just for a quick question. Either post or pre-watching this movie, did you read anything about the game synopsis?
No, I did not.
Okay, all right.
I don't know how it lines up with the game.
Okay.
So he found this Japanese empress, and he thinks it has something to do with afterlife or things like that. So he thinks there's magic involved, and so he's headed out there. She finds all of his notes, kind of decodes some things, and then goes to Japan to hire a boat to kind of find this island. And that's when she meets the son of the man who took her father to this island. So it's kind of like
Walton Goggins?
No.
Oh.
No. It's a Japanese man named Lee. I can't remember his last name. No, Lee Ren. And so her father and his father, went out to this island and never returned. So it's kind of these two children following in their father's footsteps.
Okay. I misunderstood what you said. When you said took her father, I thought
I see what you're saying.
Okay.
Yeah. So they go out to try and find this island. They end up crashing right before they hit the island, and she wakes up in a tent with Walton Goggins.
Ooh.
And she's looking for a bag, and only to find out that he's already taken all of her father's notes, all about the location of the tomb, all of his research on anything about it done, like any information on possible puzzles and like just things about her, like the whole myth. And then of course then it goes into like the Tomb Raider portion where it's actually kind of similar to Last Crusade. The puzzles are reminiscent of going in to get the Holy Grail.
Okay.
So like they have similar riddles that they know about before entering the tomb, and then those kind of play into the solution to these puzzles.
Interesting that Steve would say it's.
I know.
like a
movie that you've said that you dislike.
No, I don't think it was on this podcast. It might have been off the podcast that I said that it was my least favorite.
Oh.
Wait, was it on
Yeah.
that we were talking about Shia LaBeouf stuff?
I think.
Yeah, because I was talking about the new.
You're right.
Yeah, but it's kind of hard not to make that comparison.
Yeah, fair enough, because it's Sean Connery's.
I'm sure you don't hate every single part of the movie, right?
No, I mean, honestly, as far as all of Indiana Jones goes, and I'm probably going to get so much hate for this, I hardly remember any of it.
Okay.
Because I don't think
No, I
it
mean,
was.
that's
I don't
fine.
think it was a thing that as a kid it really checked my boxes.
Sure.
Like
Not a
I
big
mean, I remember. I remember the first one being pretty fucking boring, especially like the start when he's teaching class. I'm like, ugh.
That 2 minutes.
It felt like ages as a child. Like honestly, like as a child, him being a professor, I'm like, oh my god.
This is not the point. We're getting so off topic.
Okay.
And so
The Last Crusade.
They solve some puzzles. Mm-hmm. They find her actual tomb, and they kind of get what they're going there for. And I'm gonna kind of pause it here for a second while and then some of the other things will kind of play out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then and the reason I had you go first, Steve, was because you also saw Uprising. So when Charlie's talking about if you kind of forget something or don't remember something exactly, I think Steve can jump in. I don't want Steve.
I don't want of events, but
well, and the thing is, I don't want Steve to come in with specific like plot details. But if you're like, and then like Steve, you can come in and be like, oh yeah, this is when this happened.
No, yeah, I got you.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna carry him.
Yeah, do not taint.
But I will.
And do not taint his.
I will.
And
there's I think probably more moving parts in my movie. Just because there are
a lot
robots,
of robots.
but also just the scale is a lot bigger. That doesn't mean it's better.
No, the
it's
kaiju.
Yes.
And the scales on them.
Okay.
They tip those scales.
So let's hear about Pacific Rim No Colon Uprising.
Okay, the movie takes place, I believe, 10 years after the war.
Yes.
So Idris Elba's kid, John Boyega, he is
okay. So he is related to Idris Elba's
he's
character.
his son.
Okay.
So
biological.
He's living a life kind of in one of the destroyed cities that didn't get rebuilt. They said Earth is basically back up to snuff after the original kaiju attack, but certain cities that were already like poor countries didn't really rebuild just because they didn't have the resources to. And he's just kind of doing his thing and living his life. And
So is he in one of those countries, or is he?
Yeah, he just lives in like a half-destroyed mansion of one of the few rich spots of a country that got
Did they say
destroyed.
What country?
Well, it wasn't a whole country, I guess. It was just some city.
Yeah, it was pretty vague.
Okay, all right.
It was just
on the coastline.
Yeah, some coastal city.
Okay,
Yeah.
I can see why they probably would not want to name a country for a big blockbuster. It's not. Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
So he gets by stealing old Jaeger parts, like the old valuable power cores and technology, and selling them to people. People are trying to make their own Jaegers now. Smaller ones, not like the huge ones, because they don't have the resources for that, really. So he's doing all this. He gets caught. The government is obviously pissed at him. So they say, okay, you've been doing this so many times, we're not going to get you off again. You're either going to go to jail or you're going to re-enlist in the academy, because he was in there at one point. And he was actually, it's revealed later on that he was in it almost right when the first Pacific Rim happened.
Yeah.
But he got booted out like shortly before the actual kaiju started coming out.
Okay.
So let's see. So he decides, obviously, instead of going to jail, he's like, I guess I'll just go back to my old job.
And I will say one thing before Charlie goes too much further. I thought that he was like a rich young playboy that was living off the name of his father when I first saw the trailers.
Same here.
So
yeah.
it was interesting that he was like living.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they made it look like in the trailer he's like falling asleep on a jet ski and in this pool and stuff, but in the movie it's kind of surprising that they pull out and the mansion's half destroyed. The jet ski clearly hasn't been used in a long time. It's just floating in the pool.
Okay.
And he's talking about how just everything has different value there. So he trades away his car for a case full of sriracha and like all these other things that just have different value now when food isn't as big of a commodity and stuff like that. So there's one other girl that gets picked up who was found, like, she was also working on Jaeger parts, and they thought she'd be a good candidate. So they take those two and send them to the academy. She goes because she got the same option, like, hey, you obviously know how to work with these things. We'd rather, instead of sending you to jail, just enlist.
Because she's a 12-year-old that built her own like single-person Jaeger.
Yeah, and it's not, like, the skyscraper-sized one, you know, and it's not great, but she uses it to kind of avoid one of the police Jaegers, because basically now all the programs still exist around, well, the Pacific Rim, just as kind of like a global defense force, since they're essentially like, well, aliens have already attacked us once, it'd be good to keep some defenses ready just in case.
To maybe not just ignore that.
Yeah, so he gets back in, he's kind of just doing his thing, he's like, I don't really care about this, I'm not going to teach these young people, or at least I'm not going to put any effort into it.
Well, I'm sorry, you said he gets, did he do this before?
Yes, that's what I'm saying, he was in the force,
I missed that, okay.
And he had been booted out, he was he would have just been booted out before the first movie.
Okay, fair enough. Wait, okay. And the first movie you said was 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, how old is he supposed to be?
Late 20s, early 30s.
Okay.
But they get the enlist. They're training the people really young to try and do them.
It's very Ender's Game.
To get
because they said the handshake works better when they're younger.
Okay,
yeah,
fair enough.
Because it is very Ender's Game. They're like trying to get these kids in for the next wave.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
So the hot new thing is that instead of trying to find right people to do the handshake, they want to move over to drone technology and have people be able to just control them, one person per Jaeger, and be able to do it remotely. So you don't have to be in there. It's not as much of a threat. And then you can just have, 100 people in one room controlling 100 Jaegers anywhere in the world. Okay, that's pretty nice too. But, there's some contention. Same with like drone jets. Well, they don't have the human reactions or the instinct of humans and yada yada. So there's that whole thing. And Charlie Day is working with a lady who has come up with the drone technology. Like, this is what we're trying to sell it to you guys. We don't think pilots are as good, blah, blah, blah. And they get into their little bickering there. And they're, excuse me, there's this little, what was it exactly? It was the lady was going for some sort of like little military parade of some sort.
It was kind of like a summit to sign to either, it was a vote for
that's right, whether to go with the drones or not,
to like stick with the Jaeger program.
So they bring up the new Gypsy. It's not Gypsy.
And by the way, it's a very close vote on who's going to do what.
It's like half and half. Yeah. And is it Mako or Mako? Mako from the first movie now is like up top, like general person. She has the deciding vote, so she's going over there and she's sounding like she doesn't really want to go with the drone program because she was a pilot in the first one, and so she gets there and she's essentially like a sister to Boyega's character.
Okay.
So they bring Gypsy Avenger, that's the new version of Gypsy Danger, in there. It's just kind of like symbolic to stand there.
Honor guard.
Yeah, more or less. And then out of the water comes, I was thinking it's like, oh shit, a kaiju's already about to come out of this bitch in like 30 minutes into the movie with no warning. But it's another Jaeger that comes up and just starts attacking the shit.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, well, okay, I wasn't expecting that. Even though I saw it in the trailers, it still came up out of the water like Godzilla.
Yeah.
So this guy attacks. They get trounced because they weren't expecting it. And let's see.
And of course, there's tons of fucking civilians that they're trying to keep alive.
Yeah.
That many probably do not make it.
Yeah. So in the midst of all this, Mako was flying in a helicopter. Unfortunately, she gets caught in the collateral and she dies.
And then she,
that kind of spurs Boyega to like.
I was gonna
shit.
say, then she like gets into the little like handshake thing, and it turns out the helicopter turns into its own Jaeger.
Not yet. No, I'm kidding.
or ever.
So not yet.
So that Jaeger then eventually goes away. It retreats to where it came from because there was only one of them, and they
deep
saw
beneath the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, it does go back in the water because it sees the one Jaeger is down, and Boyega hopped out of it and Scott Eastwood is his co-pilot as Nightwing in Suicide Squad. So he hops out of it. So Scott Eastwood can't control it by himself. He's like, "What the fuck?" But he was going to check to see
He can't even control his own career. So.
I didn't even notice he was piloting it until I read the credits.
I'm not gonna lie. When I read the credits, I was like, "Oh right, Scott Eastwood. That's what they were talking about."
He's in a ton of the movie.
I know, but I didn't realize that was like. I was like, "Oh right." I remember them telling me that he was in this movie.
Love it.
Well, he
I feel like
he does wear the forced camouflage.
Steve, that reaction I feel like was my same reaction for Suicide Squad. Oh yeah, I remember people telling me that he was in this movie.
Well, I don't know him by face either. So I was like, as the movie was going on, like I just kind of completely forgot about that conversation. And then when Scott Eastwood like appeared on the screen, I was like, oh right, yeah.
It's an interesting face because it's not like he is. I mean, he's a handsome man, but for some reason he just blends in with everything so well that like even if he's there, it's like, oh shit, that was Scott Eastwood. Oh, okay, yeah. Like I don't know, you know
Maybe
what I mean?
He's actually then just super talented.
yeah. He molds himself. He is the next Daniel Day-Lewis.
Tall order. Get to work, Scott Eastwood.
Or the next, what's his name? The one that. Gary Oldman. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
For some reason, all I could think of was Mount the Curb. I was like, the one that mounted the curb. And you would have known if I said that.
No, because that wasn't Gary Oldman.
You're right.
He told everybody else to.
You're right. Fair enough.
Okay, so Jaeger whips Gypsy's ass, and then it sees three more coming in. Like, because they saw this thing come up, and they're like, shit, we need to bring the other Jaegers in.
Oh, okay.
Like the other...
So the Jaeger, the bad Jaeger saw the other Jaegers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like,
okay.
I'm no match for three of them now. So it goes back into the water, and then things kind of calm down there. But now people are scrambling, like, what the fuck is going on? We don't know what's happening.
A lot of us are dead.
Yes. Okay, let me see. Steve, what was the next thing in the timeline? Sorry, I'm relying on you. There's a lot going on. After that...
I mean, you don't have to.
After that pushes the drone through. The drone.
Oh yeah,
through.
so then they're saying like, okay, this pilot then bailed out of his Jaeger. We need to just go ahead, like authorize the full drones. So they get approval, especially since Mako's dead now. Then her vote obviously doesn't count. So they authorize the drone program and start moving these in. There are a shit ton of drones. Like when they zoom out of that factory, probably at least 100.
Oh. Way more than that.
Yeah, because they are global.
Because the whole point is that the Jaegers they have to fly, like they have to like cable them to like transports, then fly them around. Mm-hmm. But the idea is that the drones would be in every city, and then as soon as like a kaiju appears in that city, then all the pilots can be like, oh, divert attention to drones in that area, rather than like having to fly these Jaegers all over the place.
And then they can just go underwater like nothing because they don't need any supplies other than whatever their power core can just generate. They could just swim or walk across the ocean, freestyle, not just propel themselves.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I was going to make a joke about the guy who played Aquaman in Smallville, but I couldn't remember.
Justin Hartley.
There we go. Damn it. I was going to be like a real Justin Hartley.
Jesus. Okay, congratulations on just knowing that off the cuff.
He's also Green Arrow from Smallville.
Yeah. I thought a different actor played Aquaman in Smallville.
Oh! I thought you meant Aquaman from the Aquaman pilot. From
No. I meant Aquaman in the Aquaman episode.
Alan Richson or something like that.
But either or could have worked, and I knew Charlie would have gotten it. And that's why. That's why I was
very impressed.
I was looking at him and I was thinking, "Come on, think of this fucking actor's name." God
Gary Oldman.
Mount the curb.
Okay, so all these drones start getting deployed, and they're kind of disbanding this group of teenagers that Boyega has been training, like, we're kind of obsolete
Pilots are
now.
gone.
Yeah, it's not really anything necessary anymore. So, well, first I guess I should address that Charlie Day scene when he goes home.
Should you do that now?
It happens before this.
I know.
I guess.
Some coaching?
I'll wait. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like that. I feel like that's a reveal that could come up in questioning and should be.
See, but I don't think it is in the way I'll talk about that later.
Fair enough.
So these drones start coming up, and it's funny because you see these guys with essentially these VR headsets on, and they're like, "Oh yeah,
Well,
we're
you
ready to
are
go."
missing one part though when they go and hunt down the other Jaeger.
Well, we don't have to. This is just a synopsis. I don't need to hear every beat, honestly.
Yeah, because you probably want to see it too.
Yeah.
Well, then I can't really go any further.
That's probably
Wait,
good.
no, you're up to VR headsets and
Okay,
That's
just
as far
head
as you
it, head
can
it up,
go?
Charlie. Do what you're gonna do.
Kaiju-
I should get out of your defense.
Okay.
Kaijus
All right.
haven't showed up and
Okay, I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
okay.
So these guys, like the drone pilots, they
Yes.
have like their little Oculus Rift thing
Yeah,
on.
a real Iron Man.
And they're like, all right, we're ready to go, and all these guys are in blue lights, and some of the guys, their lights turn red, and they're like, just having these seizures, and then of course the Jaeger's twitching too, as they're bringing some of them into this base. And
I didn't know that Jaegers could have orgasms.
And then all of
you
a
wait.
sudden,
That's the third act.
this Jaeger starts shooting like tentacles out of its body,
Like the drone,
drone
Jaegers.
Jaeger.
Okay.
And then turns into like a Jaeger that's half kaiju and just
Okay.
starts demolishing this base. And then we proceed.
Fair enough.
Well, no, I'll keep going a little bit further.
That's-
So then we realize, oh shit, all of these Jaegers are turning into kaiju, and they're all around the world, and they all have like these unibeam things in their chest. So all around the fucking world, they all start focusing their fires in like groups of 10 and opening up new rifts simultaneously
shit.
across the world,
okay.
all over the place.
Okay.
And that's where the Kaijus come in.
Yeah, so the kaiju start crawling out of these holes and stuff, and they realize like, oh shit, somebody had bypassed the system and created this kind of. They still don't know what the fuck is going on, but they're trying to do what they can to hack back into the drones and have them stop. So they eventually figure it out, and they shut down the drones. And it was a cool scene because there were like these kaijus climbing out of the holes, and then whenever the drones shut off, then they just stop. So the rift stops, and it just cuts the kaiju in
that's
half.
cool.
Whatever's climbing just. So they're floating in the water, but 3 of them make it through. two category 4s and 1 category 5.
I do.
So then they have to respond from there with no drones, and only the Jaegers they have left that they got the shit beaten out
the
of
drones
because
immediately attacked.
Yes.
the
I
Jaegers.
I do like how they took some of what Guillermo del Toro said he would like want to do in a sequel with the whole like kaiju's having Jaeger tech and like fucking with that. That's
well,
that's
it's like the
interesting that they
humans
actually-
have kaiju tech, and the kaijus have human tech.
Yeah. I like that they took that idea that he openly said, hey, this is what I would want to do in a sequel.
Yeah.
And so they actually were like, hey, we're making a sequel. Let's fucking go off Guillermo del Toro what he said he wanted to do with it.
That one. So Charlie Day is back, and I can't remember that one creepy dude's name.
I don't either.
Ron
creepy,
Ron
but-
Perlman.
No.
He just plays extra like
Right.
weird in the first one
Oh,
too.
is it like the bug-eyed dude?
He's not really bug-eyed, but he was in The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, the bug-eyed dude.
Sure.
But honestly, when you said creepy guy, that's the first person I thought of. Like, I don't even remember him
He does
being...
kind of have a snake-like face.
I don't remember him being... does he have, like, really short hair, like
Yeah.
brown hair? Yeah. I don't remember him being in Pacific Rim, but when you said that creepy guy, the first... I thought of him.
So he's talking to Charlie Day because they're buddy and stuff, and he's like, "Hey, I've been experimenting with stuff. We can add thrusters to these Jaegers and essentially make
I
them
thought you were
fly."
gonna be like, if you and I...
No, so we can add thrusters to the Jaegers and make them fly. And he's like, "No way, you'll find anything with the like thrust to lift ratio to lift these things off the ground." And he's like, "No, if you use kaiju blood." That reacts with like certain metals in a certain way that creates such a reaction that it can be a fuel source for this. And Charlie Day essentially tells him
So-
to fuck off because he wants the drones to go through because he works for the drone company now.
Yeah. So I do want to say that
Sorry, that was long.
the guy who you're talking about, the actor's name, his name is Bern Gorman, and I do want to
Burn?
Yes.
Like B-U-R-N.
Yes. But I want to. I just want to clear. I just want everybody to know that it was the exact actor that I was thinking of in my
I
head.
figured.
And yeah, before you even said The Dark Knight Rises, you said
It's
Craven. I was
'cause
like,
his
the
lips
guy
are
in The Dark Knight Rises. That's what you're talking about, right? I meant bug eye. He doesn't have like big eyes,
He
but
has,
he
like,
always
shark eyes.
Yeah, he
just,
does.
like,
Yeah, his
dead
eyes are all like when he
black eye.
he
We're
does
roasting
a lot
this
of
poor bastard.
no, I'm not roasting. He does a lot of. I meant bug eyes in the sense of he does a lot of like takes where his eyes are like wide open. He doesn't
that's
have
true.
he doesn't have big eyes, but it's just he always is
I
like.
think he looks like a cartoon character that had all of his like facial feature lines erased.
Sure.
Like he's just like this.
Well, that
this, like,
jawline.
very.
Voldemort.
His jawline is insane. So that's.
Well, I was thinking you meant eyes more like Rodney Dangerfield eyes.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say like Emma Stone.
No, or the
Those are anime girl
the
eyes.
Hunchback from Young Frankenstein.
All right, so Steve, I've got a question for you here. Let me go back to the old Google Doc.
The old
So
Google.
I just want to know real quick, was that Nick Frost scene at the end of the movie?
There were two Nick Frost scenes,
The
and the
one-
one was at the end.
The trailer one?
Yes.
I knew it. Was it a Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2 thing where that was like the end?
Yeah.
Oh, God fucking damn it.
I'm sorry. I
No,
know
that's-
it
that's-
hurts me, but
You know,
I
you
have
could
to
have
do
just
it.
said no.
That's not how I play this game, Charles.
It was
The
a
thing
cold
is-
open.
The thing is, I appreciate the honesty because I knew in my heart of hearts that had to have been the end of the movie. So I'm glad that you were honest about it. But he's in it more than just that scene.
Yes, there's
Okay.
there's another scene where because she's kind of
Walks
not
by
using,
him.
she's not using her
And,
dad's.
goes, hi.
No, she sells her a pendant that her dad gave her to get money to go chase after him because by not signing the papers to like officially like do all the things she doesn't have as so that was me sorry
Oh.
she doesn't have a ton of access to like funds to do this sort of thing because
Yes.
no one wants her to do this at this point, so she has to get money from some other way.
Okay.
So she goes in and pawns a necklace then and
So he's the star of Pawn Stars
Stars.
in this universe.
yeah.
All right, cool.
But both scenes total in probably 2-3 minutes.
All right, fair enough. So the other thing that I wanted to... So I'm going to throw this out there. What you have told me so far is pretty fairly close to the video game. As
Okay.
far as...
The new ones or the old ones?
The new ones.
Okay.
I have not played the old ones, but the new
So
ones...
she's chasing down the tomb of Himiko?
Yes.
Okay.
Are the
Yes. Even
game-
the name, and then there's the
Okay.
there's the
Have you
boat
beaten
crash.
this then?
Oh, I've beaten both
Okay.
of them. I've played through the first one twice, and then I've played through the second one 1.5
Are the new ones all like a continuous story or no?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Then
Yeah,
that
and
means
they're
that
coming
means
in.
you may already know the twist that I
They're-
thought was actually pretty good.
They're coming out with this is off topic, but they're coming out with the final of the like quote unquote origin Lara Croft story. They just announced it coming out. I think
cool.
at the end of this year, it's going to be called Shadow of the Tomb Raider or something like
Nice.
that. But I'm pretty excited. They're good games. They're fun. So I want to know if I've kind of heard reports a little bit, so I might know the answer to this. Is there like mystical shit in this movie? Like, does it actually turn out that?
It is not.
Okay.
There's no mystical.
All right. Okay.
It turns out because what happens is, so when she gets on the island, Walton Goggins steals her dad's stuff and kind of goes more towards the actually kind of keys in on the door. So he finally figures out where the door is, and when she's attacked, which is one of my favorite parts, is that she doesn't necessarily. She's not just 80 pounds of badass and just goes straight in and kills everybody. Like, she's running away. There's a scene where she gets attacked at night, and she can't fight him, like, hand to hand, so she ends up kind of getting him in a chokehold
Yeah.
and ends up drowning him in a shallow pool of water. and it's a very intense
Well,
scene.
I mean, it just kind of touching on kind of what you said just then. Any weirdos out there who were fans of Steve and I when we had our radio show a few years back would know that I said that this game, Lara Croft, is probably simultaneously the most unluckiest and luckiest person ever.
Yeah.
Because everything awful happens to her, but somehow she survives constantly.
Yet again, you still have not played Leisure Suit Larry.
It says you.
Anyway, she gets away from this guy that tries to kill her, and she ends up killing in the middle of the night, and runs into her father.
Aw, damn it! I thought it was gonna be like,
I guess I'll do it.
Michael Jordan.
Definitely not Michael Jordan. But she runs into her father, and she follows him to where he's been hiding, and it's kind of funny because she's trying to talk to him, and he's like, "Just ignore it; it'll go away like all the other ones." Like he's just talking to himself.
What a fucking cunt!
No, yeah.
Like,
well, I mean, would you honestly expect your 21-year-old daughter after 7 years to just appear on an island?
He left her.
No, he thinks
No,
it's an
he
hallucination.
thinks he's hallucinating.
Wait,
Because he sees her.
I missed that. What?
Like he sees her and he's like, just ignore it like always. It'll go away. Like,
yeah, no. But what I'm saying is he played like he was dead and left his daughter.
Yeah,
no,
and
he
then
can't get off the
sees-
island though. He's
Yeah,
not
but-
playing to be dead for her.
Well,
Because
he
Walton
left-
Goggins is like doing all this stuff.
What
on
I'm
this
saying
island.
is he left that fucking video. Like, if you see
well,
this,
he didn't leave that video. Like, but he thought he was going to be dead.
Okay,
He's
fair,
just on
okay.
this. He's on this island. And
All right, okay, so maybe he's not as much of a con as I
Right.
thought he was. All
No,
right,
and-
I understand.
I'm
Okay.
sure he wishes he could see, like,
Yeah.
if she was real.
Right.
He's like, no way this is real.
All
But
right, fair enough.
She runs into
Punches
him.
her in the face to see.
The only way to tell.
He eventually realizes that it's actually her. So he's very excited, and he's like, okay, so he like has this map, and he's like, I've been throwing false clues to this motherfucker for the last 7 years. I think there's no way that he'll ever find it, and it's cool because you burned all my research, right? And she's like, well, and so like 2 seconds later, Walton Goggins is blowing up, like knocking on the front door of this tomb. So they end up going in there. Yeah, exactly.
Hello?
It's much more difficult.
It's
than
me,
that.
Walton.
Goggins?
So what ends up happening is he says that he's not going balls to the walls on this. Like he's like, no, we're not just running in there like idiots. And she's like, no, I got to go in there and stop this guy from doing stuff. So she kind of sneaks in there and sets free most of the slave workers that they've kind of accrued on the island. It's mostly like just lost people that end up crashed on the island. They can just kind of just bring in for slave labor.
Jeez.
So her and her dad end up getting caught, and the guy's like, Walton Goggins basically says, you know, if you don't help me, I'm going to kill your dad. I know this, like, you just came here because you were looking for him. There's no way you're going to give him up now. So you do what I want, and you guys will make it out of here. All I want is fucking what's in this tomb. I've been here for 7 years, and I just want out. But it was nice because Walton Goggins straight up just shot a bunch of people in the ways that you don't see a lot of bad guys in movies do it. Like he just does not give a fuck.
Yeah, fair enough. I gotcha.
So they go in there. They have to solve the first riddle, and as they're going in, all the traps are kind of built in reverse. So the triggers are after you get past the traps mostly. So the idea is that the traps, they're like, wait a minute, these traps are for people trying to leave, not people trying to get in. Like, why are the traps the opposite direction?
Yeah.
So as they're getting in, like, you know, they have to get through a lot of traps. The first one is a floor drop puzzle where they have to put the color of life into this one keyhole.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of gems in these prayer wheels that they have to get, and she ends up having to mix two colors to get the color of life green and make it through. And then they just kind of keep going further and further in until they get to the tomb. And would you like me to stop there?
Yeah, I don't think that spoilers.
Please continue.
Spoilies are not necessary because I do think I'm gonna see both of these, and also time wise for the cast. Is that as far as you really feel like you want to go story wise?
there as far as
I'll let you think about it a
Okay.
little bit more, because then I'll ask some more questions to you, Chuck. You said this, and I kind of tried to look it up to confirm because I don't really remember. Does Idris Elba die in the first one?
Yeah, they say he does. It's been a while since I've seen it, but they said he
don't remember
sacrificed himself.
I think he blew up himself and his Jaeger
That's-
to
yeah,
close the rift.
Yeah,
Okay.
he detonated his. Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
he detonated his core
in the-
underwater.
Okay, yeah. Because I was reading something and I
Yeah.
kind of came like he sacrificed, but I was like, "Fuck, was that in like a comic or something?"
I didn't remember
Yeah.
it at all either.
Okay. Yeah.
Steve, if you were
So-
if you were judging, I definitely would mention when they reference his canceling the apocalypse speech. I did. That was a nice note. It's like your father gave some good speeches. You should
said
have heard
that?
this one where he talked about canceling the apocalypse. Oh wow,
They said that.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
which that was the great
so-
part of that trailer.
So, Charlie, I think you and I both. I mean, we both really like the first Pacific Rim, but I would say that I think we share this sentiment of criticism for the first one, where there were a lot of Jaegers, but you don't get to see. You don't really get to see their potential, if that makes sense. So you get these fucking like dope
tease.
intros of
It's a
like
tease.
the Japan. It's almost like a fighting games intro of all these Jaegers.
Iron Man 3 syndrome with
And
like
then-
all these dope ass different suits.
Yeah, and then it
they
starts.
all get destroyed.
Yeah, and then it starts, and all of them die except for Gypsy,
Yeah.
pretty much at the like right away.
I would say that's not the case
So,
in this one.
it's not-
You get
okay,
plenty
let's-
of time with like. There's one that's fast with like kind of the swords one. Mm-hmm. I mean, Gypsy has its one sword, but this
Yeah.
one's like
That
two
one's
electro
swords.
swords. It's the
That
fast
one's
one,
fucking
fast
sweet.
small
Okay.
one. Then there's the 3-person one, a new 3-person one that has that spiky ball, and it's got
Yeah.
like so it's got almost like abdomen guns that can then swivel around to the back, and the third person
Okay.
can drop down into the gut and then shoot those while the other
Yeah.
person's controlling the arms, and then the guns can swivel around to the back too,
Okay.
which is kind of cool. And then there's the other person who's got the
Laser whip?
electrical whip, laser electricity whip, and then
Mm-hmm.
there's Gypsy too, who's got their main thing of like they got the rocket punch still,
Yeah.
they got the plasma cannon, was it?
Yeah, it was a plasma cannon.
And then
It was like a gravity gun.
yeah, they had a gravity gun too, which was cool too, because there's like a scene with the kaiju later on where he's just pulling buildings down on it,
Yeah.
just like boom, which was kinda
Great destroying property. You got to.
neat. Well, they do actually explain it because he goes up and just punches this thing in its fucking face at first, and
Yeah.
it closes the shield around it, and it just absorbs the energy and then slams it out of its hand back at him. So
It's a very
he can't
Bishop
like
situation.
just directly start punching this thing. So he tries like pulling buildings down on the back of it too, just to do anything to try and hurt this thing.
Okay. So a couple more questions. So Charlie Hunnam.
None. Charlie Nunnam.
Okay. And then also.
Walton Gothams.
Okay, I can see that on your notes,
Damn.
Steve. That you've been you have that underlined and starred to
I've-
try to say that
Well,
sometime.
I guess they mentioned his name.
What?
Because was it Riley?
Who?
I was wondering who that was when they mentioned it in the movie, because I forgot that he was in that movie until you just
Let's
mentioned
find
it
out.
now.
He was the main character,
Riley or something?
Charlie Hunnam.
Yeah.
Let's look it up.
This is
right
important.
now.
The audience wants to know.
I hope the people listening
Charlie
are just
Hunnam's
like,
character
yes,
name."
yes, it was fucking Riley. Yeah,
Most-
Riley.
Okay,
Riley.
Most
they do
people were
mention
probably
him.
like, I don't recall this movie
They
in
do,
the
they
slightest.
do mention him. They
Pacific
said like
what?
he was one of the heroes,
Specifically a rim.
Atlantic Coast?
And I mean, we did do the what
know.
was the name?
Atlantic
Rim.
Rim.
Yeah, I saw that. Oh, yikes.
Downfalling.
So did they go into like this is how they got the Jaeger things, or did they just play it out like kaiju?
Oh, like how they got Jaeger Tech?
yes,
Or,
Yes.
they went into a whole.
Yes.
That's what I would give. We are drastically approaching spoiler territory again.
Yeah.
Well, no. That I know how they got the Jaeger tech because it's in the first movie. At least that's how Guillermo del Toro originally said.
expounds-
This is how they got the Jaeger tech. If I did a sequel, it would be the Jaeger that goes into the area and explodes. They would take the like
I'm
pieces.
just gonna bounce
from
my
that.
eyebrows.
I'm just saying that's how
That
Guillermo del
doesn't
Toro
sound
said
okay.
he would
Well,
do.
just I haven't read anything of that, so imagine that I don't know any of that. But that's not
No.
it for this.
Okay,
But
interesting.
okay, I guess I could see that as being involved, but it's not the critical stuff.
Okay.
Right.
I guess I could mention the Mount Fuji thing. I think that's the goal.
So they had a competition where whoever climbed the Mount Fuji
so
first.
there's these three
Kinda?
There's these three kaiju, that they're saying like, why are these three?
Wait, you said it in the manner. I feel like you meant chia.
They're saying like, why are these three kaiju all just walking, towards a certain spot? They're like, we need to figure out what they're actually doing this time, because they're not just coming here to destroy cities, or else they would have just sent out way more of them at one time. And they have, all these different, not technologies, I guess, but abilities that they could have done more if they wanted to.
Yeah.
So they figured out all the patterns that they were walking towards in the first one, and they were all headed towards Mount Fuji, Japan. They realized that
The water is so pure there.
That's Fiji.
Damn it.
But I'm sure it's pure there too. So
No, Mount Fuji is
then,
the cameras.
then they think about it,
Fujifilm.
and that guy Burn is like, "Oh fuck! I realize what they're gonna do," because he's like, Mount Fuji is super rich in these certain elements and stuff. So they're just trying to get one kaiju to essentially climb up this volcano and fucking fall in, because once its blood hits, it's going to set off basically the entire ring of fire and.
Terraform
Basically,
Earth.
yeah, basically. Like every volcano
And the Ring
all
of Fire
around
will
the
erupt.
Pacific Rim. Yeah,
The what rim?
the Pacific Rim.
Oh shit.
The specific Rim. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
So
That
this
was an
wasn't-
interesting point where it's like, oh, so the kaijus are actually just kind of the foot soldiers, because
Yeah.
the precursors that you see those in the first movie at least, when they do like the brain meld with them and stuff. That they're just kind of like normal alien looking creatures.
Right.
So the kaijus are more or less big foot soldiers that are just like, just go out there and just destroy some stuff and just die and fall in this volcano, then we can come over. So I thought that was interesting that it's not just like, we're monsters, we attack.
I thought that was a good like drop in of like some information that you just kind of were ignoring for most of the movie.
Yeah, because that's what he's talking about with that rocket fuel to
Yeah.
boost that. But if a whole one fell in the entire volcano, it's like, oh, well, shit.
So Steve, final thoughts?
Final thought.
We're there already? Hot damn. I guess we gabbed
I
for a
feel
while.
so. I feel well, yeah, and also I don't know. I don't have any joke questions, and I'm, and also
This
the
whole
synopsis.
kaiju pizza thing.
I never do the pizza
I'm
question.
joking.
And
I
do. and I think that both of you guys. I mean, not like saying it's a bad thing, but both of you guys went pretty long on the
Right.
synopsis. Yeah. It's so yeah. So let's. I mean, what do you want to wrap up about this?
I really liked it. It really kind of made Laura seem like a real character. Like,
Yeah.
she was vulnerable. Like, she wasn't just like an invincible warrior girl running into a tomb and just shooting everything in sight.
Yeah, so hold on. I got another question for both of you. It's going to be different. So I already know the jokes from the one I'm going to ask you, Steve. So compare this. Compare this to Lara Croft, Tomb Raider.
I never saw Lara Croft. Tomb
Me
Raider.
too.
What about the sequel? I knew that was going to be the fucking joke. You didn't see either of them?
No.
So you don't even know about Daniel Craig.
Nope.
And him walking out of a cold shower because he
Walking
sees
into
Laura.
a cold shower?
No. Lara Croft comes out and he's like, I gotta take a cold shower now or something. And I remember like when I was a kid, I was like, what the fuck does that mean? And then as an adult, I'm like, that's a dumb joke.
So it's for no one.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point I'm making.
Yeah, I didn't see either because I never played the Tomb Raider games when I was a kid, and so like I just didn't feel
Oh no, go ahead.
I just didn't feel the desire. Like everybody that was going to see it was basically just like time to see Angelina Jolie in some shorty shorts and a tight top.
No.
And I was like, I don't.
I
This
was
movie
so
looks
curious
terrible.
about the Cradle of Life.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
just,
I really
sequel,
haven't seen
maybe.
either of them.
I've seen both of them.
just none of it really interested me because I mean I heard that the games were like still fun games, but I
Sure.
just never played them
No,
because I
they're
didn't
awful.
have a PS1.
Yeah, the games are terrible.
Oh really?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
I only ever
God, that's
played.
weird.
I think
mean, I guess it's
no.
not
It
that weird.
blows my mind that it like went as long as it did, and that
then has like been able to revive.
Yeah, I don't understand because even
but the remakes are good though.
I love the remakes, but even as like a child, when I was a young warthog, and I got the PlayStation magazine demo. You know how they used to like include the little disc, and I think it was a disc that had like Parappa the Rapper,
Spyro,
and maybe I don't know.
The greats.
But I remember the two playing. Mostly it was Parappa the Rapper and Tomb Raider. I think it was Tomb Raider 2 at that point, and it was a demo of it. And man, was like the controls even then, like as a like playing it as a someone. PlayStation 1 is the pinnacle of the video game experience I have, and it was just a shit show. I was like, what the fuck are these controls? Like, how do I aim at a thing? Like, camera, what are you doing? Like, I was like,
PS1 is notorious for the naughty camera.
Yeah, which, I mean, I get, you don't have the DualShock controls and all that stuff, and you're working with what you got, but honestly, like, and I guess you gotta discredit me a bit because I was probably like 10 or not. I was young enough that I guess you wouldn't really like fully be able to. But the thing is, like, I understood how it worked. It just maybe my child mind wasn't good enough to like put it in practice. But yeah, no, I thought it controlled like shit, and I was like, I'm never getting this game. And I got to the end of the demo, and there were like a bunch of spiders, and it creeped me out and scared me, and so I turned it off. And
just checking off all the boxes.
And so yeah, I was surprised that it got. And also, I mean, even as a kid, I was like, well, this is a little gratuitous.
Well, the story. Well, you know the story. He was trying, like, the guy who was doing it was trying to increase the size by like 2, like
the size of what?
Her breasts.
Okay.
But it was either by like 20 times or something like that, but he put an extra 0 and increased her bust size by like 200 times, and it was just like, yes, that's it.
I mean, to his point, he did create an iconic character.
And not only did that man go on to create Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball.
I was going to say the same thing.
But he wrote a successful book series in A Song of Ice and Fire, where he talked a lot about boobs.
George R. R. Martin does talk a lot about boobs.
And he probably says a lot, oh yeah, that's it, while he's writing.
Gross.
Hey, but don't worry, dude. Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball is a good game. I play it for not the boobs. I swear. So, I don't even remember if I had a question originally.
I said you have one for me.
Yeah,
then, too.
yeah. Okay, I do. So,
Steve didn't really have one because it was to compare to a video game he never played.
No, and movies I never saw.
Movie you never saw. Yeah. So I guess I won't bother asking you the question, Charlie.
Great.
That makes things easier for me.
Well, it's unfair because he has seen the previous Pacific Rim and you haven't seen the previous Tomb Raiders. So I guess we'll just move in. Charlie, final thoughts on. We spent so much time talking about.
Okay, I went in with low expectations, and I know we had a similar concern of that the Jaegers seemed like they just didn't have the same gravity to them, the same weight in this world, and I feel like that issue wasn't as bad as I was thinking it was going to be. There are some that are fast, and there are a couple scenes where it's like, man, they're moving like without that much effort, but they really did keep in more of the original style of heft. Especially that first one on the beach scene had some presence where it's like, oh shit, these things really are like massive moving skyscrapers. So I went in with low
especially when they had like the Jaeger that she had made, like destroying all those police cars and then like putting it up against the Jaeger.
Yeah, because hers is essentially like probably Bumblebee sized.
Yeah,
and it's like whipping around town
really
and stuff,
quirky.
And then this huge, yeah, exactly. And she's like, oh, I got away. And it's like this huge hand just like busts through a building and just picks up this, it's like the scale is totally different. But I really did enjoy this a bunch more than I thought it was going to be. It has some interesting story developments that I wasn't expecting on multiple fronts. And they went to some areas that I guess I never really thought of them going to before. And I would like to see another one. It's got cool action. It's got some decently funny parts. The only thing that I would change is I would have liked to turn the tone back a little bit more towards the original, where it's a little bit more on the serious side. And this one is by no means tons of jokey, but it is lighter, if that makes sense.
Really? Okay.
But I would have liked to go back a little bit that way too.
Yeah.
But I'm fine with this as well. I just prefer the tone of the first one too. But I also very much enjoyed this one as well.
A couple just side questions. How'd John Boyega do? You feel?
Good. At first I was a little, but then I thought he had some really good scenes too.
Okay.
You know, and by it wasn't like, oh, he's bad.
Yeah.
Just like this isn't anything special. But no, I thought he did a good job.
Okay. And then Steve, Alicia
And Eastwood's in it too.
Oh, okay. Really? He's in this movie?
Yeah.
And then Steve, Alicia Vikander?
She did a great job.
Have you seen any other movies she's been in?
No.
No? Okay. All right. Well, then in that case, if you thought she was good in this, I highly recommend Ex Machina.
Okay, no, I wanted to see that.
Yeah, so
No,
yes.
she does a great job at the very beginning. She's like training in like mixed martial arts, and she loses a fight. Like, yeah, she loses a fight, and it's you know, she's upset with herself and all these things. Like, she shows a lot of determination at a lot of like really really tough times.
Yeah.
And then of course, like I said, there's that scene where she essentially kills her first person because in self-defense, of course. But you can see it kind of weigh on her as she knows that she's killing someone, but like you can see the after effects of like her realizing it as he's like actually like now that she's safe, she's like, "Oh crap. I just had to kill someone to stay alive."
Is she convincingly a Academy Award winner?
Did she win an award for Ex Machina?
Not Ex Machina. It was for the Danish Girl, maybe.
No.
So no, I guess.
I mean,
you did not
I mean, well, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to say that in an action movie because like there was some scenes, but there just weren't a lot of scenes.
She hung on to that thing real well.
She just had the Academy Award the entire time.
Yeah.
Okay, so I feel like I should go into my final thoughts of this whole thing, and this is, and honestly, like I mean, I feel like I've said this before, and I'm sure people are gonna roll their eyes, including you guys. But this is a hard. This is a hard this is a hard decision because I legitimately want to see both of these.
And I will say I enjoyed that it wasn't just a phoned in mystical thing. Like they were, but I appreciated that.
Yeah.
And like up until the time I was like waiting for them to like hit me with the mystical. And when they kind of do a quick reveal that you can kind of piece together right before it all kind of becomes clear, and I really liked that.
Let me ask you this then: do they try to get off the island?
No, like they're not trying to get off. Like they're trying to get off the island at the end, but there's no time where they're not trying to stop Walton Goggins before trying to get off the island.
Okay,
if that makes sense.
Yeah,
and for my case.
Like they're never trying to escape. The main point is to not let Walton Goggins get into this tomb.
Yeah. Okay.
And when I left, I did call Sam and said, "See this movie."
Yeah. So.
And there's a stinger.
Okay. So these movies, I want to see both of them. It's almost like what most mood I'm in at the time, you know what I mean? Like if I'm in a like, double feature mood, like which one do I like, want to see first?
Are you horny or do you want to see Tomb Raider?
Am I horny or am I double horny? Like that's I don't understand. And
he's got a thing for Gaiju, man.
And I will say that one of the things I really, really loved about the Tomb Raider remake, the first one, is how it's kind of played off like Himiko, right?
Yeah.
Is there her like that whole it's just a legend, but then you and your main goal for most of the game is like I gotta fucking get off this fucking island because all these people are trying to kill me. Fuck this shit. And then it's almost like a Lost kind of scenario where you get a hold of somebody and then their plane just kind of fucking crashes and you're like, what the fuck?
Okay.
I think for the sake of film is there's not a lot like there's no other options.
And I understand that, but what I'm saying is when it got to the end where in the game it turns out that Emiko, like, it was all true.
Right.
And I feel like it...
And it was mystical as well?
Yeah, yes. It was like, oh, fuck, like, shit's going down. Like, this is 100% true. Like, everything's fucked.
Okay.
And I feel like that, it earned it in a way, almost like you're saying you're glad the movie didn't do it, where it was like, the game kind of played it off like, yeah, this is all bullshit.
Because you had the full setup.
Yeah, and they're like, this is all bullshit. It's just a legend. So when, like, you got to that point, there wasn't really mystical stuff before that, and then it just happened, and even Lara Croft's like, well, what the fuck just happened? Like, I don't even... I like...
It's like Assassin's Creed almost, the first video game you're playing, then at the end it's like, what the fuck game
and then the second one,
playing?
you kill the Pope, and they're like, oh, thank God you did this. We're alien gods that came from... And you're like, what? Hold on, back up!
I didn't know that was the Pope! You said he killed someone.
I thought it was just some dude praying. But yeah, and honestly, I was feeling Tomb Raider until some of those story beats, and I'm gonna have to give it to Pacific Rim.
That's fine.
Because I don't know, like, I like that Tomb Raider. I like how it is more of a. It seems they're both action movies, obviously,
right?
But I feel like Tomb Raider may have more of a story.
Yes,
but also that may be just the bias of I've already played what sounds like the majority of the story, because like I said, what you lined out, it's like, oh, that Tomb Raider, this is all kind of what happened in the game pretty much, like saying similar names of things, similar, what they're trying to do, similar, boat crashes and you get off it, but yeah, Pacific Rim Uprising at this point, I think.
Well, then I'm glad I didn't tell you more about it.
Oh,
because I want you to see it.
No, he just didn't want to spoil it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought you were like, because it's fucking
garbage.
ass. So yeah, I guess real thoughts, Charlie. What do you think about
I already told you. It was. I enjoyed myself way more than I thought I was going to, and they tease another one, and then whatever they tease, I'm like, I definitely like to see that.
Yeah, I want to see that one.
So yeah, the 12-year-old at first.
Losing the mic. Oh, here you wanna? Okay, sorry, my cord was. There we go. All right, we're back.
So the 12-year-old at first that he ends up getting sent back to the base with. She's pretty annoying at first. She comes into her own more than I thought she was going to. At first, it's like, okay, a 12-year-old's building a freaking Jaeger. Yeah, right. But whatever, I can let that just fade away. They don't really play into that. It doesn't come in later where it's like, oh my God, you have to fix this Jaeger in the middle of a war, and only you can do it.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
She
does
mind melds with him, but
yeah, and she does fix the Jaegers too. But like,
she helps, but like
she's
no more
not,
than anybody else.
It's not like you are now the number one mechanic of the Jaeger force.
You know more than any of us could ever know.
And she just
they pass over a wrench.
Yeah, she just takes a wrench and like climbs in there, and just all of them are fixed magically.
Oh wait, it needs to be fixed, but that hole can only fit one person.
Oh, and then you have to like tape down the one button for so tiny Groot doesn't hit it.
Well, exactly.
Of course. So I liked it. I mean, it wasn't like mind blowing,
or mind melding,
but I was surprised by it. I was surprised in multiple ways.
Okay. All right. So what do you got there?
Because a bunch of jump scares. These Jaegers walking, then this cat jumps out of this trash can, and it goes, falls over and kills or destroys like 3 buildings, 3 hospitals.
So what is
there so many
children's hospitals?
Right what is Rotten Tomatoes? I gotta say.
Hold on, Steve. Did you enjoy it?
Yes.
Well, no, I kind of want to get to that a little bit later.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let me go to critics' consensus. Pacific Rim Uprising won't win any points for subtlety or originality, but it delivers enough of the rock'em sock'em robots vs. kaiju thrills that fans of the original will be looking for.
So what's the score and what's the average rating?
Although I would say it did have some originality, actually. No subtlety, though. Well, maybe a little in how certain things are executed.
Not much.
What's the rating and the average?
All right, 45%, average rating 5 out of 10.
Okay.
So it's on the cusp.
Yeah.
It's divisive.
Yeah, it really is. That's interesting.
All right. Like leftovers in the fridge or reuniting with a lost love, Pacific Rim Uprising is proof things are never as good the second time around.
There are some things that are like chili. If you fucking put that chili in a fridge and eat
Lasagna.
it, are you being serious?
Reheated lasagna. in
Okay,
the
I didn't
oven,
know if you're, but I mean, legitimately chili. Like chili's always better the second time.
Here we go. This is
Steve, you made a look. Hold on, Steve, you made a look like you're telling me
I
you've
don't eat
eaten.
a lot. Not a lot of chili makes it to round 2.
Okay, fair enough.
I believe there's a typo on this, but all right. So I think they were trying to say
We
this
got to a
is-
point where we wouldn't eat the first batch of chili and we would just throw the whole pot in the fridge and eat it the next day because it tasted better.
This is Transformers level insanity. It will not make you feel like a 10-year-old, but it will make you feel 10 years older by the time you leave the theater.
10 years older?
Yes.
Wow.
Okay.
Hot take.
Pacific Rim Uprising is a film that's fully aware of its limitations, but one that's happy to work within the confines of them and even utilize them to its strengths. And as a result, it's a much more enjoyable ride than anyone might dare to have hoped. I can agree with that.
Oh yeah, it definitely was like, this is what we're doing.
Let's-
Yep.
And we're gonna do it, boys.
Let's get one more. Rotten or positive. It's your. I mean, yeah, rotten or fresh. It's your choice.
Let's see, a fresh one, since I already did 2 rotten. Putting DeKnight at the helm hasn't degraded the Enterprise. If anything, it has put the Enterprise, glorified demolition derby that it is, into proper perspective.
Okay. Wait, who's the director?
Stephen DeKnight.
Steve. Oh, okay. All right. That name sounds familiar to me.
Yeah, let me click on. Oh, didn't he do?
He's done something that I feel like
Yeah,
I've
Daredevil.
enjoyed. Oh, he was the showrunner
Executive producer, Spartacus,
for
Daredevil.
Okay, yeah,
Smallville.
I think for season 1 of Daredevil, he might have been the showrunner.
Yeah.
So yeah, pass that old laptop over to Steve. Steve, let me get some real thoughts about Tomb Raider.
All right, let's make this work.
I actually really liked it. Don't want to destroy your computer.
Yeah, you're fine.
I really enjoyed it.
Uh-huh.
The character didn't seem like ridiculous.
And you're saying you enjoyed it based on video game movie history? Like you feel like this might have been like one of the better video game movies?
Like for video game
it's no Blood Rain 2, but
Yeah. No, it's got to be up there because first of all, video game movies just have a terrible track record.
so it's up there with like it's above Postal?
Yes.
Oh wow.
What? This felt like a solid movie that wasn't a video game movie.
Okay.
So, it definitely followed in the footsteps of Last Crusade. Like, they definitely kind of had that feel to it.
To be
with
fair,
a little bit more manic.
I think that
things
they're
at the
working
beginning.
off a good story originally, and they took
Oh, that definitely
they
doesn't
took
hurt.
so much from the original story that helps, and it's kind of like when eventually they'll make an Uncharted movie. I hope that they take off of the original story.
Do you think for this that if it was the same movie, now granted if there wasn't copyright infringement or anything, but it didn't have Tomb Raider attached to it, would it have been better, more well received?
Probably.
That's interesting. You
You think it would have been better received?
I think it would have. Because
people
I
going
think
pretty harsh
That's
if it's
true,
like
that's
video
true.
game movie.
well,
yeah,
and
there's-
not only that,
there's
it attaches itself to the other
Yeah,
movies.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
and also,
Also the other
it
movies.
attaches itself to an IP.
right.
So
Yeah.
so it's like, Tomb Raider, so Lara Croft, so video game, all this stuff,
And-
so it's not going to be good.
Yeah.
And I
So,
think,
yeah,
and I
okay.
think the fact that it
That's
doesn't,
interesting.
and the fact that it doesn't go mystical,
Yeah.
also makes it
That probably
like a less
helps.
ridiculous. Like Tomb Raider, a lot of like you were expecting mystical,
Yeah.
and so by not having that, like I'm sure they kind of alienated some viewers because they didn't hold as closely to the
Yeah,
game.
and I can see how it works in the context of the movie, especially the way you described it, at least. And I think that maybe that might have helped it movie-wise. Like, it's almost
I
the
mean,
whole, like,
they-
Galactus is a cloud
Right.
versus Galactus is a big dude with a huge purple helmet. It's like, okay, well, the big purple helmet obviously won't work in movies, so what's the best way we can do it? I mean, not saying that the cloud's the best way, but you're not going to be able to do Galactus as Galactus.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Maybe someday.
I mean,
And-
yeah, I'm with you, Chuck.
at
but-
that time, probably not. Now you might be able to get away with it now.
maybe.
and at this time,
Never mind.
like there was even that being said, there was some kind of ridiculousness at the end.
Oh,
But
shit.
yeah, Rob Dyrdek was there. gotta cut you off on this shit. But it was kind of crazy at the end, but it wasn't mystical crazy. It was just kind of a suspension of disbelief.
Dyrdek.
I don't fucking know. I've seen like 2 episodes of that.
Deer Dick?
Yeah, isn't it? It's Rob Dyrdek.
We don't need to.
It's Rob Big Old Dyrdek.
No, that's cool that you liked it. Which of the 2 did you like better?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's going to be the later question. I want to hear all
Sorry,
the Rotten
I'm just
Tomatoes.
curious.
All right, so the tomato meter is at 50%.
Uh-huh.
With average rating 5.4.
Okay.
And I actually, the audience has it fresh. It's 65% audience.
Really?
I
Interesting.
forgot to look at what my audience was.
Yours was, I think it was very similar. It was like 50 or 45 or something like that.
Okay.
It was very
Probably
similar to
100.
your audience, or to your critic score. From what I can
Oh,
see.
what's the consensus? What's the consensus? Do you
sorry.
have? Yeah. No, you're fine.
I'm not used to looking at this. Oh, there we go.
Well, it's a computer screen, and then oh, he's got to adjust the
Well,
mic.
You know how terrible my eyes are? Okay, Tomb Raider reboots the franchise with a more grounded approach and a star who's clearly more than up to the task. Neither of which are well served by an uninspired origin story. I thought they were about to like go in deep on the old movies.
And a star who's clearly more Oscar worthy than the. You remember when Angelina Jolie directed that Unbreakable movie?
Yeah.
And she was like, "I'm gonna win." Well, I don't know if she said it, but
Unbreakable movie?
it was called Unbreakable, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think.
And everybody was like, "She should win Best Director." She should, and she wasn't even
Not
fucking
that
nominated.
Unbreakable.
No, that Unbreakable. I don't know what with fucking M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it wasn't called Unbreakable.
I don't remember what it is. It's something like that.
I don't know, it
Unbroken or
Unbroken,
something.
maybe?
Yeah, and it had the dude like lifting the fucking.
Oh
board.
yeah, because it was the wait,
Spider-Man.
Yeah, there you go.
Angelina Jolie directed that?
Yes.
Huh. I remember seeing. I know what you're talking about now.
I thought you were gonna be like, "Huh, she deserved Best Director."
No, I didn't see that movie.
Okay,
Okay.
but you can weigh in on it whether or not it's deserved.
All right. This is a positive score.
Mm-hmm.
Tomb Raider stuffed though it is with curses, vaults, and locks that cry out for secret keys, is not really about a legendary quest or a family honor. It's about Alicia Vikander.
Okay.
I mean, she did a good job. Here's a bad one.
Mm-hmm.
Vikander invests herself in Lara Croft and the filmmakers, unlike the ones Jolie got saddled with. Frame her with awe rather than lust. Wow.
Framer, is that
So,
like
sorry.
Frasier?
No,
Or
because
is
they
it like Framer? I barely know her.
yeah, probably more that one. Now, if only they could bring some of
Tossed
that onto the
salad and
tombs.
scrambled
So, like,
eggs.
this is another thing that I can kind of agree with. Like, Vikander did a great job, but like, there could have been a little bit more
Sure.
meat in the old story.
In the old Vikander.
God,
You know, while you're finding another one, fun fact, now she's been in a movie that hasn't done well about a video game, and her husband, Michael Fassbender, was also in Assassin's Creed.
Yep, that's true.
So now they have something to talk
And
about.
he was also in The Snowman,
Yes.
which was terribly received.
I think I actually wanted to see that.
I did too, and then the reviews came out, and it's at like a 12%.
Oh wow.
I mean, I know our whole podcast is about reviews, but when it's that low, sometimes you're like, "Oh yikes! This." I had high hopes.
I'm reading this one specifically because it includes the director's
Also,
name.
apparently, his name is like Harry Hole in that movie.
Oh, that's just bad writing. Like, just don't do
Why do you
it.
think he's a killer?
He's
So
not.
this is a bad review. For a while, it looked like director Roar Uthog. That's his name, Roar Uthog.
Is this part of the review?
Yes. yeah. All of that was part of the review. Was going to deliver a video game movie that transcended the genre, mostly through the neat trick of having an ass-kicking heroine be driven by the thoroughly human desire to be daddy's little girl again.
Neat.
And that was a bad review. But, okay.
Okay, so why did you think that was a bad review?
because it says it's a bad review.
Oh, so it was a rotten.
Yeah, a rotten
I
review.
thought you just
I
didn't
apologize for not using the vernacular properly.
I'm kidding. Give us one more and then.
Here's one last good one. Tomb Raider is a film that you know is calculated to kick off future blockbusters in the series, and it works.
I imagine they would end it. Tomb Raider's a film.
Tomb Raider is a film.
Without that little last tack on there, yeah. It's kind of just an insult.
So, Steve, going to the question that I was going to ask that Charlie was just squirming in his seat to get this. You saw both. What do you think was better? Do you think I was right? Do you think I should have gone Tomb Raider?
I think the way you presented it, you were correct.
Okay.
I think Tomb Raider slightly edged out.
Okay. Yeah.
Which one do you want to see more of?
That's tough, because the problem is that Tomb Raider is more determined on whether or not they get the right script. With when it comes to Pacific Rim, you don't even really need the script to be that good, as long as there's fucking kaiju on Jaeger action.
No, as long as there's fucking kaiju. As long as two kaijus are fucking.
No, but like, there's definitely more depth currently in Tomb Raider, and if they keep going with that, it'll keep going well. There's a lot less to screw up with Pacific Rim Uprising.
Yeah, so I feel like Tomb Raider has more character.
Yes.
Whereas Pacific Rim
is fun and was awesome, and like the next one, if they do it, it's going to be this big crazy thing again. But like, like you're there for the fights and everything. Like Tomb Raider, you kind of want to see that, but like, without a good storyline, it's just gonna be like, what the fuck are we doing? Like if the puzzle, like she goes in there and she has to play fucking tic-tac-toe,
just a waste of time
what
at
is
that
happening?
point. Yeah.
I'd be interested to see if she could do it without getting crossed out.
Right?
Plus, then you're way more likely to say about Pacific Rim or something like, well, at least I got to see that robot do that sweet thing, instead of like, well, Tomb Raider sucked, but at least I got to see her jump away from that falling plane.
Yeah.
That was cool. I mean, it can be cool, but like, it's not gonna be.
Yeah,
and definitely,
Big
definitely for
cool.
like the way the podcast is kind of set up, like it favors the big action, flashy stuff.
Yeah,
it's kind of hard for me. It's kind of hard for me to like no, the nuance of this film.
Well, no, honestly, I mean, Tomb Raider was kind of edging out until some of the story stuff.
I feel like if I spoiled things, I would have slightly. Well, I don't know, because Charlie's got some spoilers in his pocket too that could have edged back.
Okay, well, hopefully I'll try to see these before the next prequel episode, and then maybe I can see what the
and then you can weigh in on how you felt about it.
Yeah. So other than that,
you guys are fucking liars.
Both of you these movies suck. So yeah, Steve, what do we got as far as plugs? Do we have any?
Oh, let's see. There's This Film Is Lit, Good, Bad, or Bad Bad, the video cast.
All things were on.
Beyond the Blast Doors. Beyond the Blast Doors, the Star Wars cast, which I was like, oh my god, I couldn't think of Blast Doors, which is ridiculous. But what else?
Beyond the saloon doors.
Yeah.
Beyond the draw doors.
Yeah. Thanks to Scott Blackwell for our images. Thanks to Jeremy Lamb for the theme song. Thanks to Andy Wisman for the photos.
And I mean, thanks to Scott he helped with the 3D printed thing that I got for all of us.
Oh, Scott did?
Well, I mean, I had him make a specific file type of the image to send to my coworker that has a 3D printer, who did way more work than he needed to in order to give us something that we all like, and he still was not happy with his own work, which I understand. But I think we can all say it's pretty.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Yes, I agree.
And then I missed Critical Misadventure, the Dungeons and Dragons podcast hosted by.
I can't believe you did that intentionally.
Yes, hosted by very own roommate Kevin's brother.
I don't think he hosts it. He's just one of the players.
It.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's not the DM.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
I say host because he's the only one I actually know.
Fair enough. And with that, I guess we're gonna peace. If I was Canadian, I would say peace out. Dude, that landed so good.